I can't even stop. Okay, so this hi. It has been a long time since I have recorded anything or talked about anything. A lot of things have happened. Started working for Bonaire and um made pivotal shifts in personal relationships that needed to be made. And yeah, all that good stuff. And there's a personal relationship here that is it's very personal. Look at me. This is JonLee. I refer to him as Daddy.
Yellow.
Um, and yeah, this is one hell of a development. Like so, that is still developing as we speak, but beautifully so, might I say. And so, I had been threatening to talk about something. You might see a chat box pop up in the corner. So because I'm not one to do all this in-depth editing. So um yeah, see there you go. All right. But I want you know me. I'm not about so much the high production. I could be. Once upon a time I was there, but that's really not my aim nowadays. What I really want to talk about are relationships, not necessarily just romantic, but um I want to talk about things like declarative statements and what type of questions one should ask for relationships. And I figured I would include Daddy in this because I love his point of view and he has one, especially as a man. Oh my God. Do you know how hard it is to find men to talk about this shit logically, reasonably, and actually engage emotion? No offense, dudes. I know not all men. I get it. But not a lot of men in my experience. So I count myself to be very fortunate to be sitting next to one who does. So I want to thank you for joining me, Daddy, in this
My
discussion.
pleasure as always.
Yay. Yay. Okay, so let me make sure my mic is picking me up clearly. Okay. I don't want to scream in y'all ear either. So all right, so declarative statements. Should questions be asked when you're seeking relationships, whether they be platonic or romantic? I want to talk about that sort of thing. I guess we'll start with this question. Should only romantic relationships need declarative statements and or structured questioning and mutually decided upon guidelines? That's the question I want to start with. But before that gets answered, let me say what a declarative statement is. So, a declarative statement or a declarative sentence is a sentence that makes a statement and provides a fact, offers an explanation, or conveys information. These types of sentences are also known as declarative statements. So it's declarative sentence, but usually people say declarative statements. And I'll give you an example of a declarative statement. When seeking a new friendship, I'd say, I want someone who I can grow with and um, we can be confidants and hold each other accountable for the growth that we're both seeking. That is a declarative statement of what type of friendship I'm seeking. There had been times where I was seeking to be in sororities, and each time that I joined a sorority or attempted to join a sorority, they had declarative statements about what their sisterhood was like. And every single time it was proven to me that the declarative statements that they had were absolutely false. So that is a declarative statement. We're about accountability. Bullshit. But anyway, so, back to the question. Should only romantic relationships need declarative statements and or structured questioning and mutually decided upon guidelines? What's your take on that, Daddy?
No, I think that all throughout life, there are declarative statements that are used. If you work, if you have a job, your boss needs to give you declarative statements because he needs you to know what needs to be done. He needs you to know what your job duties are. If he says that I need you, you will be here at 10 a.m., you will sweep the floors, you will do this, you will do that, that's a declarative statement, is it not?
I do agree. I do agree. Of course, but that would be about um of course that's work, that's different. You don't need to have deeper emotional connection for, a job. You might need emotions to be able to gauge how things might need to work within a specific position, or for a specific client who's looking for something. But in particular, I'm speaking towards platonic, different types of platonic relationships and romantic. So,
Well, even in platonic relationships, there will be declarative statements.
mhm,
If you want your friends to know what your boundaries are,
mm,
if you want your friends to know what they can do. For example, if you live in certain places, a declarative statement would be make sure you take your shoes off before you come in my home.
true.
That's a declarative statement.
Hmm.
So, declarative statements can, I think, also be considered explanatory,
Hmm.
explaining what is desired or what is required.
I think,
So,
yeah. Please continue. Sorry.
okay. So, basically, to answer your question, yes, we should, or yes, they are.
Okay. And like I'm glad that you did that, Veer, because a lot of the declarative statements that you were speaking of previously were focused more on rules, like a specific uh, uh mm, or a task that
Or,
needs
or duty.
a duty that. And yeah, so I'm kind of leaning more towards relationships and boundaries. So
Ah,
yes, yes, yes. Okay, so I there is this saying floating around that crawls up my ass and dies. And yes, Daddy is aware of my potty mouth. So, um, what is that terminology? Catch a vibe and see how it goes. Oh, my eyes just rolled out my head, down the street and around the fucking corner. All right, now, not that it's a bad thing to say in and of itself, but what I find is that when people say catch a vibe and see how it goes, to me, that reads as okay, let me just see if I enjoy your presence and not have any real expectations of how it is that this is to grow. So this is just a state of nothingness for however long we have this fun nothingness. And I ain't never been about that life. I don't know how to do that. I did try. I have tried to be okay with that. That is not something I can do. It's so foreign to me that I don't even know how to word shit right now. How do you feel about the catch a vibe, Daddy?
well, as you know, I had to have you define the current definition of that word, of that statement. But the I'm going to go into quote my generation unquote, or when that phrase vibe was actually being used, it was a bit of a different thing
Mm-hmm.
because one, it wasn't shortened, it was vibrations, and it was more along the lines of do we resonate? Do we agree on some things, or on most things, or a lot of things? It was not so much for a relationship or relationship interactions.
Mm-hmm.
It was a more general term toward how you feel about something, good vibes or bad vibes. But now in this age, it's been taken to be used, if I understand it correctly, to be used as I want to get to know you, but that's it.
Yes.
I
Oh.
have no intentions of anything more serious
Mm-hmm.
than just seeing if we can interact on a positive level.
Yes, that's literally all it is. That's it. There would be people who would argue differently, but I have yet in conversation caught any nuance to there being more than just let's see if we like each other.
But the thing is that originally that's all that it meant. Let's see if we like each other. Let's see if we can um, exist together. Let's see if we can do things together without any. There was no mention or no intention of anything more serious.
But that and that's fine. That's okay. Here's my thing. I'm seeing individuals. I was in this dating group, this Second Life dating group for a while. It was a dating group geared towards getting people into relationships. Asterisks. So, um, is catching a vibe the same thing as being in a relationship?
No.
So, why would people within this relationship seeking dating group be talking about just wanting to catch a vibe?
If you're looking for a relationship, no, you wouldn't. I think there are certain people or certain groups that have added more to the phrase, added more seriousness to the phrase than what was originally there.
But in this group, when I was in this group, there was nothing added in addition to the catch a vibe. And there were individuals who openly were like, well, I'm not looking for anything serious. Why the fuck are you in this group? But anyway, so, which was one of the reasons why I was like, I gotta be out. And sure enough, nearly the moment I left it and decided to stay out of it, you come tumbling in along with all that other stuff. But then it got siphoned out and it was just you. But anyway, so, hike.
But see, the thing is that if you are using the term correctly, it should not be used in that situation because you're in a place where people are looking for more than a vibe.
And exactly. So that's why, in a nutshell, I don't like it. It's because it's used in places where it should not be used. And people who are eager to be confused, and I like to say it like that, because all it takes is just a little bit of thinking and you won't be confused. So so I feel like people who don't want to think, they're eager to be confused. So those individuals are easily confused because that's what they want to be. And it gives rise to a lot of issues, or they want you to be confused so you don't require more of them. I think that's more accurate. That one.
Yeah. But see, the thing is that you said it just requires a little bit of thought.
A little bit, just a little bit.
Right. But unfortunately today, putting thought, true thought, real thought into something is in short supply. People are going by instructions. They are going by what they are told. They are going by what they have been told that they should be or how they should act or how they should respond and leave the thinking to other people.
And see, no. No. And I know you're absolutely correct, but no. I had to take a sip of water on that one. No. So, still a problem.
Wait a minute. You saying no, I'm not correct, or no, that shouldn't be the way?
That shouldn't be the way.
Okay.
You are correct. And I'm just saying that shouldn't be the way. Okay, so we've established that. So let's say, what else would I like to ask? Okay, so there was, I think this was on Instagram. I don't know if it was originally a TikTok. Honestly, I don't like to be around TikTok. I know a lot of people say TikTok is great. I don't feel that way. This is not about how much Coco don't like TikTok. So we're not gonna go into that.
Okay.
But it showed up on Instagram. So um this woman listed 3 questions that I thought were really great for she's like for dating relationships, but I'm gonna say all relationships. These questions matter for all pivotal relationships that you're going to have, um, platonic and romantic. First one is, how do you handle conflict? So, Daddy, like, what do you think about that question? Like, if you
Okay.
think anything.
Well, before I answer that question, let me just say that to me, as far as TikTok goes, TikTok is just a more electronic version of reading the newspaper or reading a magazine or reading a book.
Mm-hmm.
You have to think about what you're absorbing.
Absolutely.
Okay. And people don't do that. So now to answer your question, could you repeat that for me, please?
Sure, and I totally agree with you. They just mindlessly consume, and then it becomes a part of them, whether they know it or not, or whether they
Hmm.
acknowledge it or not. So, how do you handle conflict? What do you think about that question? If there's anything that you think about that in particular.
Usually I avoid conflict because if I can avoid it, I will avoid it because it's not worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. If it's not life or death, if it's not someone that I care about, I will avoid it because I don't feel the need to instill my energies into something that's not going to benefit me.
Right. Okay. Do you think it's a good question to ask someone who is going to become or who is growing into a good friend or a partner?
Definitely. If you are trying to find someone that you can spend time with, you need to know, if nothing else, for your own self interest, how they handle conflict.
Mm-hmm.
If you are with someone and you find out, well, how do you handle conflict? If they say something along the lines of, I go in swinging, I run back home and pull out my Glock, you know, then that's somebody you don't want to spend much time with.
Right.
So yes, it is a very important thing to know.
Okay, great answers. It's now time for me to answer the question. I think it's an excellent question to ask. As a matter of fact, I think we need to normalize asking questions before we invest deeper emotions into someone. Because otherwise we're just catching a vibe and then not having a plan.
That goes on the list of things that need to be normalized, which is getting longer and longer.
Yes, Lord. So, and it's happened in a gajillion ways I can list. How I handle conflict, it depends. Now, there's conflict that gets brought to, let's see, if it's something, no, let me start over. It depends on how close I am to you, or how close I
Mhm.
feel I am to you, or how I feel, how honest and how respectful you're going to be in communication about the conflict, and if you're going to be manipulative or not. That is how it depends. What depends. There are individuals who I know are capable of speaking with respect, but they're going to be manipulative, and they're going to find a way to appeal to certain natures that someone else has in order for there not to be blame sat on them.
Mhm.
Individuals who I perceive that from, I tend to just let the issue be where it is. And I say things like, what is unsaid speaks louder than what's said. And those are the moments where people can think that I'm a puss or a wussy or anything like that. And at this point, I don't give a fuck about them feeling that way. Because what I'm not going to do is engage in conflict resolution with someone who's shown to be manipulative. Because there will be no resolution. Not really. Because you've shown that you are manipulative. Now, if there is someone who I feel is front facing and front dealing, I will talk to them. I will try to be as respectful as I possibly can. I don't like conflict. I grew up in a place where conflict, it never, no matter how respectful it could have been handled, it still turned into a war zone. So I personally hate conflict, but I will swallow the heartbeat in my chest and I will speak it through. Daddy has seen me do this,
Mm.
and he has seen me do this. So, in real
Yep.
time. So, if I believe that you are one who's reasoning and you want to resolve the conflict and you want to hear me and you want to respect what I need and you believe that I will respect what you need, I, of course, moving forward, we can speak respectfully and honestly with candor. And yeah, also, but also if I feel like you're one given to blowing up, something I've known is that if you push the right button, your blow up is like a kitten slap, because there's a part of me that is really ugly and really unhealed that I'm working on and very unhinged. And I don't care who I've met who's talked about how unhinged they could be. I still ain't seen someone who scares me as much as I scare myself.
I
So,
remember.
so I just don't talk to them at all. And I won't even try to resolve that conflict. That's how I handle conflict. And that's keeping it a book all the way across. So,
But the thing is that if you're going to do that, if you're going to be serious about asking these questions,
mhm,
you need to write them down,
absolutely.
because you need to be able to go back to them if something changes,
Mhm.
if something happens, so you can go back and look at this and go, okay, why is this? Why are your actions different than what you told me they would be?
Yes, which often happens. Yo, let me
Mhm.
tell you, Daddy, because I don't lying is not my forte because I have to remember what I lied about. So what
Yeah.
I tend to do is come in telling the truth, being really transparent. And then shit happens and people don't know how to take me because I did exactly what I told them I would do.
Hmm.
And I'm still a villain for it, but whatever. So don't nobody need to go back and check, because I actually say what I'll do often. We get into conversations, I'm like, this is how I'll respond. And then a thing happens and I respond in the way that I said I would, because I do what I say and I said what I said and I said it. And how many times have you heard me say that? So.
The elephant is faithful 100%. Yeah, I understand that. But it should still be done, not for their, not for them,
Mhm.
but for you. And when I say you, I mean, a person in general, so that even if you're the most transparent individual in the world,
Mhm.
which I think if I looked at the Guinness Book of World Records, you'd be in there. Um, you, the other person, needs that, because not everyone is as transparent as you.
No, I totally agree. Oh, I totally agree if someone is given to it. Okay. All right. So, all right. Awesome sauce. I totally agree. Next question. What did you use to accept, what did you use to accept in relationships that you no longer accept?
Mm,
Yeah, it's a chock full of, whoa, you don't have to list
yeah,
them all, Daddy, but
I was gonna say, how long do we
how
have?
long you got? Like, whoo.
Disrespect,
Ooh.
um, the inability to allow me to express myself,
Mm.
mm, inequitable divisions of duty,
Mm-hmm.
um, being ignored,
Ooh.
being expected to do more in the relationship than the other person,
Mm.
um, not not being able to help me help myself, or
Ooh,
being unwilling to help me help myself.
ooh, preach, 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 preach. Yes.
Okay?
Okay.
I'm not going to take up the whole thing
I know.
with those minutes.
I know. Let's see. Um, how do you think about the question itself?
I think it's a fair question because it allows the person asking the question to have some gauge of where you are and where you've been, which gives them a better idea of whether or not you can continue together as a unit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I couldn't put it better. Um, ooh, so now it's time for me to answer that question. What did I used to accept in relationships that I no longer accept?
Good thing I packed a lunch.
Whoop. No, I'm gonna be good. I'm gonna be good though. One
Okay.
of the things that I no longer accept is people telling me that I am too pessimistic. I no longer accept that. And
Good.
I'll tell you why. It is because um it I can't tell you how many times people was like, "Oh, you're so negative. Choose happy, choose happy," and I'm like, What the fuck does that even mean? What does that mean? Can you break that down for me? You don't just. I don't believe in choosing happy. I think working on your happiness is a thing. I think working on validating yourself and not seeking validation through others is a thing. I think working towards personal contentment and contentment within a relationship is a thing. But if something exists that's making you uncomfortable, you can't just say, "Oh, I'm going to choose happy today," and forego and ignore the fact that something is happening that's making me uncomfortable. Especially when they say choose happy and I'm uncomfortable, is what I'm not going to take that shit anymore. That's something that I won't take anymore. Um, someone, there are ways in which there's, how do I put this? I know. When I see, it's one thing for people to be different with others because you can't be the same version of yourself with different people. Different people need a different version of you.
Mm-hmm.
However, when you switch your personality based on who it is that you're around, that that is something I can't tolerate because then it makes me wonder, who are you and who did I connect to? Am I connected to a chameleon? Because why is it that your whole, so much of who you are switches depending on who you are presently in front of? And I just happen to see this and I'm supposed to be comfortable with it. How am I supposed to? It confuses me. And it makes me wonder if what I connected to or felt that I connected to is actually you, or was it just me that you were projecting back to me for me to connect to? Do you get what I'm saying, Daddy?
I hear what you're saying. Now, in that situation, would you take the time to ask them and point out the discrepancies to them to see what they say or the reason why they did that?
It depends on whether I've experienced duplicitous natures from them, a little bit of manipulation. Because as I said in the previous question, if there's a conflict that arises, I'm going to be less likely to talk to you about the conflict if I've seen that you have ways of manipulation about you. And to see that you show up in a way where you seem like almost a different person when you're dealing with other people than who you were when we connected, I'm not going to feel comfortable with talking to you about that because you show me in two different instances that I don't know who I'm dealing with.
Okay.
Do you see what
Now,
I'm saying?
no, I see what you're saying. I'm curious though, when you said that you react to people or interact with people differently because they're different people.
Well, I totally get that, but
Okay. But
mhm.
but what you're saying is that the core of you doesn't change.
Yes. And you can tell when the core of someone doesn't change by how they interact. There might be ways, like say for instance, Daddy, I used to be a code switcher real heavy. But I have, and so because of that, if I had black friends to pop up, I'd be like, "Hey, what's up, man?" You know, and every now and then I have my slang that I throw out there. And if I had a white friend that was around, they're like, "Gosh, it's like meeting a totally different person." Oh my gosh, you know, so, like,
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying? But no, I'm the same person. It's no difference. But to see whole personality traits change.
Okay. Yeah, that's the point that I was working on. You can react differently to different people, but
Mhm.
you do not change.
Yes, you don't shift. But when I see whole personality traits change, I don't feel like I need to have a conversation too deep with you because that tells me that you are either not settled in yourself or you are shifting to become things for other people. And I ain't got time to be trying to figure and nail things out with people who switching back and forth in that way. I tried that, and every time it blew up in my face. I ain't about that life. So there's that. Also, another something that I will not do is it's one thing for a person to be innocent, chilling, doing their thing, and they're having a conversation, and someone blows up on them, and this person is my friend or someone I'm connected to. Um, I am not gonna lie. You blow up randomly on someone I care about, I will be Johnny on the spot. It has to be a random blow up though. However, if someone comes in and you're talking to them and you're poking the bear in the zoo, you're being condescending in ways, you're making little snide comments, and it's not overt. So people who don't think too deeply don't pick up on it. Like,
Mhm.
but that
Back to the
person,
super thing again.
mm-hmm, that person does, and they snap, and you're expecting me to come in there with blow torches or have your back. I'm sorry, the only way I can have your back is by telling you how you showed up wrong. That's how I'm going to show you. I'm not going to compromise on that. I do not go to war for people who start wars, who start battles. I don't. I'm not going to. I don't. I'm not doing that anymore.
People
Um,
should be responsible for their actions.
they should be responsible for their actions. And I don't give a fuck who comes in doing that shit. I don't care. That has happened to me in about 3 or 4 different ways in the past year. And it has put a real fucked up sour rotten taste in my mouth, and I will never do it again. There was someone who I considered a very good friend at one point, and that was just because I did not do what we're talking about now. We did not nail down and be honest about what it is that how we resolve conflict, how it is, um, what it is that we no longer will accept. No, that's not true. I actually did mention this specific thing. I did tell her. It's just that she didn't listen. She didn't write it
Mm.
down. And it came a time where she held for months and months and months. She held for months how angry it made or how hurt she was because I didn't come in like a white knight saving her or being ready to fight for her. And I told her, I said, I don't. Oh, I had previously, before I met you, I ended a friendship with someone who I ran into the fire for all the time. And then she just dropped me. She dropped me, and it was like nothing was a problem. And she dropped me for a group. And I'm just like, all right. So I let it go too. And I'll never pick it back up again. And I told this woman about that. And it was funny how I think we were both just so caught in the catching a vibe that she didn't hear me when I told her. Now, what she didn't know is I remember what I said, and I ain't forget. I'm one of those people who there's certain shit that I say, I'll never forget that. And I reminded her at our exit conversation. and and she was like, I guess we just didn't think about how to. Like, well, I already told you what I was gonna do. You just didn't pay attention. So, and I'm sorry, but I will not go into war for people who really need to learn their lessons on their own.
Mm-hmm.
And it's family, friend, romantic. I don't give a fuck. It's just not happening. So,
Tough love.
yeah, we call it that. So those are things that those are things I'm just not doing ever again. Period. Point blank in the discussion. So, like, yeah, we see how passionate I am about that. But anywho, okay, what makes you feel supported? What do you think about that question before you answer it?
I think, again, it's a great question to ask someone who you are getting into a relationship with, because it allows you to not waste time, not do things that are not going to be what the other person is looking for. It lets you know what they're looking for, and you can tell them right then and there if that's something you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can't do it, then you've wasted no time.
Yeah. Let's normalize this. For real, for real. For real. For real,
Real?
for real.
Okay.
So, and what does make you feel supported, Daddy?
Um, the general answer would be you.
Oh, Daddy.
to, go, to get into details, I feel supported when my opinion is validated, is felt as being, the other person feels my opinion is valid.
Mm-hmm.
I feel supported when someone asks questions as opposed to jumping to conclusions.
Mm-hmm.
I feel supported when someone steps up without being asked if I need something.
Mm-hmm.
I feel supported when what I say isn't ridiculed right off the bat. I feel supported when someone is angry or upset or irritated in my behalf.
Mm.
I feel supported when I know, thank you. I feel supported when I know that I can say anything to someone and they take what I said as what I meant.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel supported when they do not add to the end of my sentence their own words.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I hear that was the period at the end of the sentence where you said okay. Like, all right. I heard you, sir. Um, Gosh, I love all those answers, and thank you so much for saying that you feel supported by me. I need for you to feel supported by me because I know what it feels like to not feel supported. So, how do I feel about that question? I think is absolutely imperative because, like you said, how else can we feel loved if we don't feel supported?
Mm-hmm.
And how can we feel comfortable if we don't feel supported? It doesn't foster honesty. It doesn't foster consistency. It doesn't foster growth or intimacy. So it's interesting how there are so many relationships that start and none of these questions are even considered. They're just things you kind of have to go bump in the night with, or you gotta bump into them. Oh, okay, yeah, or somehow meet people who think exactly like you,
Mm-hmm.
and of the individuals who I feel the closest to, none of them think exactly like me. However, we do have many of the same goals in life. So, um, yeah. So, what makes
But
me? Mm-hmm.
go ahead.
No, please continue.
What I was going to say is the issue with that is that these days, most times, people are not instructed to be introspective.
Oh, absolutely.
That's why these questions don't get answered or
Oh,
don't get asked.
mm-hmm. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Um, what makes me feel supported?
Let me grab my notebook.
You make me feel supported, Daddy. You really do. But acts of service. Sometimes sometimes I'm Johnny on the spot with thinking ahead. And sometimes I just want to put that shit on the shelf, on the top of the dresser, the tall dresser that I can barely reach, and just leave it across the room. I don't want to have nothing to do with it. Um I don't want to have to do the emotional and mental work all the time. I can do it alone sometimes, but it becomes cumbersome. Um, so when I feel like I'm the one who has to ask questions or kind of steer things and I'm the only one doing it, that does not make me feel supported.
Mm-hmm.
Um uh Being able to voice my concerns without the first thing happening is devil's advocate. And this isn't me throwing stones at you, but I'm telling you this is what has happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing is like, maybe you're thinking a way like this. And I'm like, so what about what I said made you feel like you had to diminish possibly what it is that I was saying or how it is that I'm thinking? That's the first thing that pops in my head. Like, I'm telling you something that's bothering me, and your first response is to devil's advocate. Instead of asking, okay, this is what I'm having, instead of saying, this is what I'm having issues with understanding. Can you break this down to me? Instead, you'd rather devil's advocate. That tells me you're seeking to diminish what it is that I'm saying so that it's something that you don't have to account for, or you don't have to shift what it is that you're doing in order to help in some type of way or help mediate through your actions in some type of way. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. It's just it feels very it feels like I'm hands off tactic. I'm not the wrong one. Maybe it's how you're thinking, and that doesn't really lend itself to open conversation. Um, what makes me feel supported is to not be treated as if I'm crazy when actually I'm not crazy. I'm just hyper aware. I'm hyper aware. And sometimes it happens so fast in real time that it might be jarring for people. And I acknowledge that. I'd rather you say, okay, do me a favor and slow down, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And because you just put a lot out there. So I guess what makes me feel supported is patience, um, conversational patience. Um, what makes me feel supported is not forcing, hmm, respecting that variable energy is difficult for me to deal with. What do I mean by that? I can't be around every Tom, Dick, Harriet, or
Susan.
non non-binary. You know, I don't know. I can't because all energy holds all kinds of things, and I I don't do well in mixed energy, especially when I don't know, when I haven't vetted it. So if you're bringing variable energy to me or pulling me towards variable energy, and I've already expressed to you how uncomfortable it is, I will make myself extremely scarce and not make any excuse for it. So I'm just poof. So I'm a puff of smoke. So that makes me comfortable, not just snatching me into anything. Um, let's see. Uh, and supported. Let's see. I'm trying to think. What else makes me feel supported? Um, Something else that makes me feel supported is
Being allowed time to process.
oh, look at you. Look at you. Look at you reading my mind. Look at you. Look at you. I told myself I wasn't going to do that whole relationship beam cooey thing, but that was a moment I had to kind of catch myself because I was about to get all gushy and stuff.
Mhm.
Yes, that is correct. That is correct, sir. I do need time to process, and sometimes I take a long ass time to process. I don't know what to tell you. It's the truth.
There need different time to process. Not everything is the same.
Yeah, and
It's like
but
different foods need time to cook.
very true. And some people are like, you know what? I don't like how long it takes you to process. I'm moving on. I respect it, and I no longer fight it. Is what it is.
Hmm.
So, yeah. Let's see what makes me feel supported. Not having to, ooh, being able to just be and not expect it to be, not be expected to be nice. Expect me to be a
Hmm.
kind person, but don't expect niceness. I don't do performative nice very well. That has been established across the board. Like in so many ways. I don't do it with family. I don't do it with friends. I don't do it with romantic partners. I can be very kind and direct, and Daddy. Am
Yeah.
I?
Yep, yep, yep.
So I don't do nice. I don't do nice. I don't do nice because it's performative, and I'm not a performative person. And people who are nice are performative. If you are nice, I'm sorry, it's performative. It is how do people view me versus who I really am. And I don't really give a fuck about performing anymore.
Hmm.
So if performances is something that you need to do for perception wise, then we are not going to be compatible. I do not feel supported by people who have to be nice because it feels just as fake as it is. All right, done. So
Oh, wait,
like,
one more.
oh,
One more.
what, Daddy?
Someone who honestly takes the time to understand your point of view.
Yes, look at you adding on to my what makes me feel comfortable and supported. Look at you. Look at you. Hmm. Anyway.
Uh,
I mean, there are more, but you tapping them, you tapping them. All right. So before my voice start getting a higher pitch and I start batting my eyelashes, let's move forward.
Your nose starts glowing.
Ah! Oh gosh, but yeah. So those were great. Those are great questions to ask. Um, gosh, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. I look at here. You even helped me get through everything that I wanted. Oh, here's another thing. Here's another one. Oh, wait. Is it? Hold on. Let's see. No, we got through it. We got through all of them. Look at you helping me get through everything.
How else am I supposed to help you feel supported?
The things that just ran through my mind that would be inappropriate to place in this video just exploded. But
You can tell me later.
I sure will. So that's really what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about that right there. You know, man, it's really, really refreshing to be able to be every stitch and ounce and like just blink, wink, and breeze of myself with someone. And I honestly feel like if whoever you are that's watching this, if you're watching it, if you do it, yeah, there are going to be a shit ton of people who are going to fall by the wayside just expeditiously. They're going to disappear, evaporate, fade, everything, every adjective and term that you could think of that equates to disappearances or even blow ups and then leave, or burning bridges, anything you could say, all of that is going to happen. All of it. You're going to be hurt, you're going to get over it. You're going to be sad, you're going to get over it. You're going to be mad, you're going to get over it. And keep doing it, because it is you embracing your needs and yourself and being honest about what type of relationship is going to help you grow and help you be the better person that you're seeking to be. And you will find your tribe. And, you just might find your love. So.
And if I may add a closing note.
Yes.
Two things, two homilies that have always helped me. The first, of course, is, like you said, this too shall pass.
Mm-hmm.
And the second one is more important, to thy own self be true. Because when it all goes down, you're the only you got to depend on.
Amen. Thank you so much for watching.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah. See you soon.
Ciao.